So check it out. Bryce James has committed to Arizona. He announced on social media. So this happened yesterday. I thought he would go to Duquesne. LeBron Man's coach there. What's his name? Dru Joyce, something like that. I think he's the coach at Duquesne. The current head coach at Arizona is someone named Tommy Lloyd. So if you don't know who Tommy Lloyd is, he was an assistant under Mark Few for the past, I think 20 years at Gonzaga before he ended up going to Arizona. So his head coaching career got off to a record-breaking start, compiling a 61-11 record through his first 2 years. To set a new NCAA record for most wins by coaching in the first 2 seasons, his 88-20 mark through 3 seasons is the second most wins in NCAA history for a coach in his first 3 seasons. This is serious commitment. It won't be like a Bronny to USC situation. He really got to go in there and earn his minutes. I saw this tweet. This guy said Bryce James would even be a Division I recruit if it weren't for his last name. 6 points, 2 rebounds EYBL, 5 points, 2 rebounds at Peach Jam, 28-54 split, a 6'4" with a subpar jumper and average handle. I have zero expectations for him as a legitimate NBA prospect. You can't even really call this hating. I mean, I think the bottom line of it is, everyone's dad's not LeBron James. You gotta, I said this before. I said this before about Bronny too. Regardless of how good Bronny or Bryce is, they're gonna get a shot in the NBA. LeBron, he wanted Bronny on his team. He got Bronny on his team. If he's still playing at the level he's playing at now, and he says he wants Bryce, I bet you the Lakers get him Bryce. Who gonna tell him no? Either gonna be that way, or it's gonna be, I think LeBron's trying to become the owner of the Vegas team. So if he gets ownership of another team, then he has leverage again. And then you got to think with Clutch Sports. I did an interview with Chris Haynes last year, right? And we spoke about how powerful Clutch Sports is. You got to think a lot of these superstar players, they're all signed to the Clutch Sports. So if LeBron says he wants some shit done, or Rich say they want some shit done, they gonna get it done. Because in a couple years, when you want a certain player, they could be like, oh, you're not getting that player. You say, you didn't want to do this favor for me now? Okay, bet. 2 years from now, you're not going to get that player. What I'm trying to say, basically, he'll get a shot either way. This is an interview from his coach, Tommy Lloyd, and they asked him about his recruiting strategy for Arizona.
And I want to be honest with those guys and what they are, and I want to hear from them. Listen, I don't think you can ever downplay, if a kid tells you, like me, Arizona was the one place for me. I think there's merit in that. If that's the case, I want to hear it.
You want to be honest with these guys. All that honesty shit sounds cool, but can y'all imagine this guy, right? This dude right here, Tommy Lloyd, having a sit down with Bryce, Bron, looking Bron in the eye, telling him yo, your son's gonna play 5 minutes a game. You know the type of look this nigga bro get his dude. Get the fuck out of here. You're not about to be honest. Yeah, if Bryce commits here, he's only gonna play 2 minutes a game. He's not stupid enough to fuck up his job like that. So I'm sure all this been discussed. Probably been in discussion since USA, because he was under Mark Few for 20 years, bro. 20 years. And Mark Few is one of the coaches, I believe, for Team USA.
And asking me questions is important. And I'll ask them questions and we'll go back and forth, but I definitely want it to be a back and forth. I'm not scared of expectations. I'm at a program that has been a powerhouse and is going to continue to be a powerhouse.
There's no way in living hell this guy didn't talk to LeBron or somebody in LeBron's circle. If he comes here, he's only going to play 3 minutes or 2. All that shit been in discussion. Then if you look at their chart too, Caleb Love, the orange is the players who committed. So right now it's Bryce. The green is the players who signed. 2025 right now, they got Bryce and they got Dwayne. Now, hear me out. This might sound crazy. Alijah Arenas commits to Arizona. His dad went to Arizona, Gilbert Arenas. Imagine Alijah Arenas commits to Arizona. Where does that leave Bryce? Who you gonna play? Alijah Arenas or Bryce? He still hasn't committed yet. I don't know if he goes to college. He probably can go. I think he can go to the G and still make the lead. But let's just say Alijah Arenas commits to Arizona. How many minutes has Bryce played in? Because that nigga, he has to play. He has to play. I'm sorry. That dude is cold, right? Cold as fuck. So if he goes to Arizona, how many minutes does he play? Yeah. I think Chris Brickley, he posted this today. Got that LeBron play. He gotta make sure shit right. Arizona, I love it. Bryce can get a bucket, shoot the 3, get to the cup. Still only 17 years old. He's not even close to what he's going to be. Trust me. I believe within the next few years, Bryce is going to really develop to a special player. Mark my words with that one. Did this dude just indirectly basically say right now he's not ready? So how many years do you think he going to spend in Arizona? Bro, I'm trying to tell y'all, bro. Bron got these niggas so terrified to do right by their kids. These GMs have the balls to do some dumb shit when it comes to his kids. GMs, coaches, college coaches, bro. Clutch Sports is some wild shit, bro. Not gonna hold it, bro. Everybody looks nice in this thing too. I've never seen someone who's ass. I've never seen somebody who's ass in this gym. Like, everyone looks like a 99 overall at this gym.
Reports were optimistic, praising his potential to develop into a player with a similar frame to LeBron's 6'8" stature. In 2021, for example, 247 Sports highlighted Bryce's height, natural shooting ability, basketball IQ, and defensive instincts as key strengths, slotting him as the 24th best player in the class. Though middle school rankings will oftentimes vary wildly from the rankings by the end of high school. As Bryce progressed through high school, these lofty expectations have faced challenges. Playing at Sierra Canyon, Bryce has struggled to stand out. Sierra Canyon is a national powerhouse that pumps out NBA prospects on a yearly basis. This is like a high school you see in a movie compared to a normal high school. And for that reason, Bryce's role has been very limited. And honestly, I don't know if that's for the best.
Doing that team up shit.
That was
it
my
hurts
next
your
question.
children.
And I said this, bro. Gilbert was speaking facts. Y'all saw Gilbert put his son on an ass school, right, compared to him, where he has to be the man. So he has to drop 40 points. He has to drop 50 points. And he don't drop 40, 50, or 30, they lose. Like, they get embarrassed. LeBron did the opposite. He put his sons with the best of the best. And that's, if you, in hindsight, you think it's supposed to develop the kid, but it doesn't, because the kid doesn't know how it feels to beat a man. I think as a hooper, you got to know how it feels to beat a man. His sons haven't experienced that. They always been on like the top teams. So you don't know how it feels like to beat a man.
I said high school is development for you and your child. It ain't about winning fucking championships.
Don't say that. Don't say that. No, Steve.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask why you didn't send him right to Sierra, and yeah.
Like, I've never seen a college coach come down and say, yo, how many high school championships you won? How many AAU championships you won? Oh, you average 40. I want you.
I mean, this guy was Bronny's chubby little brother, and all of a sudden he turned into a 6'6" slender man. This guy's physical frame changed wildly, as he was becoming an actual prospect rather than just a kid. At times, it seemed Bryce was still growing into his body, lacking the explosive athleticism and fluidity that define elite NBA prospects. I mean, his agility and footwork are only going to improve. I'm not saying this is a critical knock on his game, but for quite a while now, when watching Bryce James move on the floor, he might look closer to his dad height-wise compared to Bronny, but he doesn't move nearly as well as him. Reports about his heights have been inconsistent, fluctuating between 6'4" and 6'6". This 2-inch difference might seem minor, but in basketball, it significantly impacts expectations and the required skill set. Bryce has had moments of brilliance. For instance, during the EBL circuit, he scored 21 points in a game against the second-ranked player in his class, hitting shots from all over the perimeter. Performances like these highlight his potential when he's at his best. Unfortunately, such games have been the exception rather than the rule. In other high-profile events like the Nike Peach Jam, Bryce struggled significantly. After subpar performance of the Nike Peach Jam, Bryce's rankings on 247 Sports inexplicably rose by over 30 spots despite having a very bad weekend, to put it lightly. This discrepancy suggests that his LeBron genetics might be inflating his standing in the eyes of scouts and analysts. Bryce is undoubtedly a talented player. His current abilities do not place him on the same trajectory as his father or even his older brother Bronny.
And why I cut them a little slack? You know how unfair it is to your dad is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, and anything you do has to get measured up to him? That would suck. Like, you're not going to... The top player in every single class for the last 15 to 20 years is not catching up to Bron. And just because you're his kid, like any record... If you, let's say Bryce makes it to the NBA and he's actually has a decent career, any record he breaks is going to be lined up with his dad. Like, that has to be tough. That has to be hard. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty tough.
Widely regarded as a more complete player at the same stage in high school. Through his junior year, Bryce James averages 7, 2, and 2 at Sierra Canyon, which isn't much worse than that of Bronny James, who averaged 8.8 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 2.8 assists per game. We really don't know what the finished product of Bryce James is going to look like. The comparisons between Bryce and Bronny have been a constant source of media speculation. Recently, some have argued that Bryce has more potential than Bronny, but other than being taller than him and Bronny's career being a hot-button issue, there's not a ton of reasons to back this. Bronny seems to have gotten athleticism of his dad and the height of his mom, while Bryce seems to have gotten the opposite. These two are completely different players that are not even really worth comparing. Consistency within the two is a magnifying glass that will soon also be placed on Bryce. And as I'm sure most of us would be willing to bet, of his collegiate offers, Bryce is likely going to attend either USC or Ohio State. In either case, with how Bronny turned out, I'm surely willing to hope that Bryce takes his time more seriously. It's alright to not be a one-and-done talent, even if you have James on the back of your jersey. And by the looks of his game at the moment, he might need a few years to build his frame and to build a role for himself to be ready to play at the professional level.
I agree with majority of his video. Like, he got, Arizona, that's a tough choice, I'm not gonna lie. I thought he would go to like Duquesne, but he's never been in a position where he had to be the man. EYBL is the hardest circuit he'll play on. Sierra Canyon's a powerhouse. If you're playing with a bunch of talented players, I feel like at some point in every hooper stage of hooping, you gotta like have an experience where you're the man, just so you know, like, I'm capable of putting up 20 points. I'm capable of putting up 30. Like, I could put up 40. You know what I'm saying? If you just been in high school, you've always been in a position where you're around other talented people, you just won't develop at a rate you're supposed to. That makes sense. So this vid, I make sense. But I think this vid, I agree with a majority of it. But if Alijah Arenas goes to Arizona, whoo, I don't know how many minutes he plays. I ain't gonna lie. If he go to Arizona, that's gonna be a tough one. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section. And as always, it's your boy.